Pray for us. Pray for Abigail, please. I'm begging y'all. My baby's only 4 months old. Please pray for us.
At this hour, one person, an 8-year-old boy, is confirmed dead again. This is in the Bahamas after Dorian just battered that island.
And here's what else we know right now about Hurricane Dorian. Dorian remains a powerful Category 5 storm with maximum winds 165 miles per hour. Our first coast right now is under a hurricane and tropical storm watch as Dorian starts making its way up the Florida coast. Now, this storm is less at this point than 300 miles away, which means that we could begin feeling these effects tomorrow. In fact, down in Volcano Beach, we're already seeing some effects here. And of course, we will be with you both on air and online. Good Monday morning to you. I'm Jeannie Blaylock.
And I'm Keitha Nelson. We appreciate you joining us as we are on your side, trying to keep you safe ahead of the storm. We're going to have continued team coverage of Hurricane Dorian as it slowly makes its way across the Atlantic, both on air and online.
Right now, let's turn things over to our team of storm experts, meteorologists Mike Prangley and Lauren Rautenkrantz. And what is the headline right now that everybody needs to know?
Headline, still more questions than answers. It has stalled overnight. The storm's literally stopped in its tracks, and we're still waiting on that northward turn to see how far east or west it will go.
Basically, we just don't want anyone to kind of tune this out. Stay tuned because every mile is going to matter in the next 24 hours.
Right, and what we did on the latest cone, let me show you this. We put the latitude and longitude because every mile does count. And overnight, well, we've got 6 more miles of wiggle room. Actually, the track has changed, just wobbled slightly off to the east. We'll take every little bit, that's for sure. And it's about 20 miles farther east than yesterday afternoon. But notice, dangerously coast to coast as we remain in that cone, so it could wobble toward land areas still, and then hopefully a little farther east as we get closer. But if based on this track, a major hurricane off our coast tomorrow afternoon would mean similar impacts as to what we saw during Matthew. So keep that in mind. Right now we've got a 165 mile per hour sustained winds, just west movement at 1 mile per hour. And then we're watching that pressure at 916 millibars. This pressure is key as well. A lot of the models have not initialized that. So basically these are like mathematical formulas that go into this equation. And yes, the math is still a little fuzzy. All right. So that's why that track has yet to be determined, that turn, and how far east this will go, or west. All right, so keep checking back. As we take a look at our spaghetti plots, last night a lot of sleepy folks waking up this morning because we had a few models still tracking right up toward Jacksonville. These are just a few, really the best spaghetti plots we have, but there's still a few models that take it inland Florida. But right now, those tracks overnight have shifted a little farther east, so that trend to the east is some good news this morning. All right. But just a glimmer of hope at this point. When you got this track too close to the coast, we still have some dangerous situations taking place. So as a result, hurricane watches are up for areas of Nassau County southward, including St. John's, Duval, and Flagler. Tropical storm watches for areas farther inland. So inland Duval, Nassau, Putnam County, and Clay County. So keep that in mind. So as we zoom in, the highest impacts would be along the coast right now. And then inland, this yellow area, this would be the 30 to 50 mile per hour gusts, and then the 50 to 75 mile per hour winds where you see the purple. We take a look at the storm surge watch. Yes, this is key. A lot of folks have evacuated, which is great. If you're told to evacuate, do so because we could have similar effects that we saw during Matthew. And a lot of folks wish they had evacuated when told to do so. So we learned our lesson. Let's heed the warning today if you're told to evacuate. And right now, also coastal Georgia, they're going to be evacuating as we head toward the noon hour east of I-95. So keep that in mind. The main impacts we're watching for us, notice inland areas, fewer impacts toward Blackshear and Folkestone with 35 mile per hour gusts. And then you go toward the coast, we're talking about winds of 75 miles per hour at the beach, storm surge of 4 to 7 feet to the islands. Downtown is key on the surge. Downtown right now, the surge not as bad as what we saw during Irma with 2 to 3 feet, but we've got to keep an eye on that. And then notice the rainfall anywhere from 2 to about 6 inches of rain.
And let's go ahead and take a look maybe day by day because here across the First Coast, it's already breezy along the beaches, as you saw a little bit earlier in some of our coverage with our reporter out in Volcano Beach. But today, you can expect highs near the mid and upper 80s. We'll actually get a dose of sunshine, but then again, those showers coming in from time to time. Now, increasing downpours as we head into our Tuesday, even more so as we head into our Tuesday evening, that's when we really start to see the bulk of those impacts start to get underway, especially for Flagler, Putnam, St. Johns County, eventually building up towards Clay and Duval. You get the gist. Shifting up into southeast Georgia through Wednesday. Look at this wind picking up as well, and depending on where you live, that's going to make a huge difference as well. The rain helps to keep us a bit cooler on Wednesday, but then by Thursday, this cyclone passes on by and we are going to see improving conditions very quickly, okay? If you've ever experienced the weather post-cyclone, it's actually quite nice, and it would be good because we will have time to go ahead and get outside and get things back to normal. As far as our next update, again, we are getting them hourly, but that's just the position of its core. The 8 o'clock update from the Hurricane Center, Jeannie, is going to have the latest stats and any other updates that the hurricane hunters have found.
Thanks for that, Lauren. We are on your side before, during, and after this storm. This is a live look right now at our phone bank. You can call and get any answers to your questions, or if you have any concerns, we're here to help you out. The number right there on your screen is 904-632-1200.
And even with the track of Dorian off the Atlantic coast, it still has a major threat to our coastal communities, and especially people are worried about storm surge.
Definitely so. Those who have been through this before, especially those in Jacksonville Beach as well. One of our several areas getting ready for that potential threat. Lewis Turner and Katie Jeffries, they're standing by live right now this morning ahead of all of this. Good morning.
Good morning. Katie Jeffries, Lewis Turner here. We're on Beach Boulevard. We're right outside of the Beach Bowl. We've actually seen a lot more cars coming into the beaches area and only a few actually leaving the beaches. They are under an evacuation order that is set to start here in about an hour at zones A and B, which is basically all of the beaches. We know there is a curfew in effect at 10 o'clock p.m. as well.
So with the speed of the storm right now, you heard the meteorologist talking about it, the slow sort of waiting game that's happening, and it brings up memories of the things that we've seen out here at the beaches before. Even with a track and a forecast column of Irma just a couple years ago, we know what Irma did coming right up the center of the state, but many forecast columns had Irma doing what Matthew essentially did, which is go right up the coast, and now we're watching and waiting for Dorian to make that big turn. Keeping in mind zones A and B, this also applies to St. Johns County, in Nassau County, A, C, and F. These are your big coastal areas. These are the areas on the Intracoastal Waterway and the tidal creeks and rivers. That's going to be where you're seeing it the most. We have a dozen or so shelters that are going to be opening up here in Duval County this morning, and they're all in schools. All right, so the schools make up the brunt of all of the shelters here. Shelters will be opening in St. Johns as well as Nassau County today as well. We'll keep an eye, though, because we are just about a half hour or so, an hour or so away at 8 a.m. when the evacuations begin to see if people will start heeding those warnings or if they're going to take their Labor Day and just make it into one big hurricane party here at the beach. Hopefully, more people than not will get over there on the other side of the Intracoastal. For Katie Jeffries, Lou Turner, First Coast News on your side. Back inside to you.
Thanks for that, guys. Now, another big area of concern this morning from Jacks Beach, we're going to St. Augustine. We remember from storms past that those areas were hit very hard.
The area prone to major flooding, even in a nor'easter. And this morning, there are mandatory evacuations. They start at 8 o'clock in less than an hour. So let's send it out now to Lana Harris, who is live in St. Augustine. Lana?
Good morning. So we're here in St. Augustine Beach. I've got this gorgeous sunrise coming up behind me. You can see it. There's even people out here on the beach. The St. Augustine Beach police chief says do not let this give you a false sense of security. They are expecting Dorian to hit this area hard. So evacuations will be beginning for St. Johns County at 8 a.m. They are hoping to get as many people out as possible. In fact, leave early, leave now. It'll lessen traffic congestion on the road at 8 a.m. So again, it's zones A and B. That's pretty much everything east of US 1. And we do have that map up on screen for you. I mean, and there's really no reason to stay. Chief Robert Hardwick says the tide has been higher than he has ever seen it. He's seen rip currents more dangerous than he's ever seen them. In fact, he says Marine Services are not patrolling the water anymore because it's too dangerous. There are no lifeguards out here either. The pier parking lot is blocked off from the public. So if you need to evacuate and you have nowhere else to go, there are 6 shelters, and we'll have that for you on your screen here. And you'll notice that there are 3 general population shelters. 2 of them are pet friendly, and 1 can accommodate anyone with special needs. So we spoke with a man who is planning to stay at a hotel with his wife and 4 kids. He said they made it here through Irma, and he's just hoping for the best.
I'm just really hoping that it weakens as it gets here. hopefully a 3 or less. That would be great. Myself, I'm just praying for my friends and family that aren't here with me and that couldn't evacuate to somewhere safer, you know, and just praying for my own family that's here and just hoping we get through this good.
Now, when you join us out here live again, we will be speaking with Police Chief Robert Hardwick again, and he's going to give us an update on the conditions here in St. Augustine Beach. But here, live in St. Augustine Beach, I'm Lana Harris, First Coast News, on your side.
Thanks for that, Lana. We'll say this time and time again. The news always continues online at firstcoastnews.com. If you happen to lose power during this storm, you can always get updates right into the palm of your hand if you download our First Coast News app. That is free of charge in your app store. We're going to get an update from the Weather Center at 8 a.m., so we'll have an update on Dorian and its path in just a bit. You're watching Good Morning Jacksonville. And welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Jacksonville as we continue to track the latest developments on Hurricane Dorian. Dorian continues to be a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of 165 miles an hour. Right now, it's about 115 miles east of West Palm Beach.
Parts of the First Coast currently under a hurricane and also a tropical storm watch as Dorian is just marching up the Florida coast. And with this kind of strength, thousands of First Coast residents will find themselves under evacuation orders. They are mandatory and they start at 8 o'clock for many parts of our First Coast today.
Yeah, in just about 45 minutes at 8 o'clock. That includes zones A and B in Duval and St. Johns counties. Also zones A, C, and F in Nassau and the coastal counties of Georgia will be under evacuation orders. Again, that is starting today in about 45 minutes in some cases. Be sure to stay with First Coast News both on air and online for all of the updates you'll need. Don't forget to download that mobile app. Quick check of your time right now. It's 14 minutes past the hour on this Labor Day. Again, we welcome you here to Good Morning Jacksonville. We have crews up and down our First Coast covering the storm. We want to turn things over, though, first to our meteorologist, Mike Prangley, our storm expert. He has the very latest on Dorian's track.
Thank you. Good morning and waking up with Hurricane Dorian. A lot of folks sleepy-eyed, had some long nights, tough to sleep. I know we've got this major hurricane. So what we're here at First Coast News for you, we're here to keep you calm and safe. That's the main two things, and we really appreciate your trust during this major event. We've got a historic hurricane with 165 miles per hour wobbling west. That's the word you wobbling at 1 mile per hour. Why is it stopped in its tracks? Well, the high pressure to the north has collapsed, so really no winds to steer it. It's in no man's land right now. And the big question, we've got big questions to answer. When will it take that turn north? And how far east of it will it be of Jacksonville? Well, overnight, in the latest National Hurricane Center cone and track has it about 6 miles farther to the east. Every mile does count, so 6 miles farther east is the only change we've seen, so not enough, just not enough at this point. Still dangerous conditions along the coast because this could actually wobble back closer, bringing those severe winds inland, and then we'll see if it wobbles a little farther east with the next update. That won't be until 11 a.m. Let's go to the radar right now, and what we can see is the very latest track, and our weather team meteorologist Lardon Routenkranz and I are zooming in for you here. Here's the Bahamas, and just devastating winds for those poor folks here. And notice the latest few frames, it looks like it's wobbled a little bit farther to the north, so that's some good news. The more it wobbles a little farther north today, the better for us, okay? Because the big turn in this hurricane won't be until late tonight and tomorrow morning. But every mile counts and every wobble counts. That's what we're looking at here. There's just no room for wiggle room at this point. So here's what I'm talking about. We've got damaging winds far from the center. So here's Daytona, Jacksonville. Look at the timeline. This is showing you the damaging wind cone. Notice it moves up the coast towards central Florida by first thing tomorrow morning, the Space Coast, then up into areas of St. Johns and Flagler County, with some of those damaging tropical storm force gusts as we head into late tomorrow night. This is Tuesday at 11:30. So the main impacts still look like late Tuesday night and through the day Wednesday. So keep that in mind. And let's go over those. So if you're at the coast, the big thing that we always worry about the most, really, it's the surge with this. 4 to 7 feet, which is comparable to what we saw during Matthew. Little better news on the river. Not as bad as what we saw during Irma. We've got a 2 to 3 foot surge. As far as rain, we've got 2 to 6 inches and watching for 75 miles per hour out at the beach. And if you're just inland, once you get to I-95, closer to 50 miles per hour. We'll have more impacts and go county by county coming up.
Goodness, that's a deafening sound on board an C-130 plane. Lauren will explain it, used by the hurricane hunters who fly directly into the eye of the storm. I can't believe there are people who actually do this.
That sound was so loud you kind of have to spend all your time wearing earplugs like Lauren did. But I like what you said. Lauren got to geek out because she really has a scientific bent to her because she's a trained meteorologist.
Yeah.
So what did you learn up there? I mean, you've studied this for so many years.
It was incredible. I mean, I knew I was going to be fascinated by the weather data that was coming in, but being able to, like Keitha said, this is their job day to day. And I mean, for us, we talk about them all the time, and we use their data. It's critical, but to put a face to those guys that are behind the, in the cockpit and in the weather officer chair and loading these drop sondes, I mean, that to me was really big because they have family too, and they're out there for 12 plus hours on a mission in a plane. And let me tell you, 12 hours on a plane is a long time. It takes 3 hours to get out into the storm, or at least where it was towards the northwestern Bahamas when we flew into it. And then we're in the storm for 6 hours collecting data. And, it got to a point where I'm hovering over their shoulders, and they're just doing their job. So we kind of just let them be, and we just sat there and observed, and it was just, I mean, it was just fascinating.
But what did it feel like, Lauren, being in the storm? Was it frightening? It sounds scary to me.
So it was really interesting because they were telling us beforehand it might get a little bumpy, but let me tell you, it did get a bit rocky. They say even the tropical storms are rockier than the ones that are more organized.
Well, speaking of rocky, you got to show everybody this, because this is I think
the
that's
motion
great.
sickness bag. As you're walking in, they ask you, have you ever been on a storm flight before? And you say no. They hand you this. Did not have to use it though, so
good for you.
That's
what I meant by it's great. You did it. You're a brave soul.
I would have used a couple of those, Lauren.
But thanks for giving us some insight, and what an honor to be on that flight.
It was great.
That's a really unique experience. Well, the time right now, 7:24. Remember, the news always continues online at firstcoastnews.com. And for your latest weather news updates, make sure that you download that First Coast News app. If you don't have that yet on your smartphone or your tablet, we will be taking a quick break. But before we do, we want to talk about these mandatory evacuations that begin at 8 o'clock for folks downtown along the St. Johns River.
It's something that we've been harping on for quite some time, and we hear it time and time again. It's so important that you take heed and listen to those evacuation orders. Bruce Lasson right now, he is joining us with the very latest. LaShawn, he is in downtown Jacksonville, an area where we have seen flooding before just last year, Irma and Matthew as well.
Yeah, and the year before, too. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, it's a spectacular day down here right now. The sun just starting to come up, and it just feels like a beautiful, calm day. Hard to imagine that there's this giant monster out churning there in the ocean. But, I mean, take a look at where we are and how the water is moving right now. It just takes a couple of feet for it to come up and start to do some significant damage and flood into this area. And we've had plenty of damage down here. The hotel where we have been staying, the Hyatt Regency here, that was completely flooded, and the damage here still exists. Folks are trying to figure out where they're going to go. Live in downtown Jacksonville, Bruce Lashan, First Coast News.
We're going to welcome back our folks from our NBC side to talk about the track right now and the latest on Hurricane Dorian. At this hour, Dorian remains a powerful Category 5 with max winds of 165 miles per hour. The First Coast is currently under hurricane watch as Dorian starts making its way up the Florida coast. Now, this storm is less than 300 miles away, which means that we are beginning to feel the effects, say, in Volano Beach, and then it's just going to get more and more serious. The worst of the effects between 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. roughly on Wednesday.
We do have to make it clear several counties, including Duval, have issued evacuation orders. We're going to get more into that. And of course, you can find the information, exact information, on our website at firstcoastnews.com. Right now, though, we have got to check in with your storm expert meteorologist, Mike Prangley.
Here's what the new track means for us. There's just been a slight wobble east. Every mile counts, 6 miles east to be exact. And we've got a new track that's coming up at 11 a.m. So don't focus on the track or really the cone. It's about safety, and just one slight deviation to the west will cause some big trouble for us. So what we're talking about this morning is heeding the warning. If you're told to evacuate, This is the time to go to your friend's house, okay? We'll keep you updated on the track.
This is a First Coast News weather update. Tracking